Hello, Deckers. How you guys doing out there today? I am Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, and I am coming at you from the Wizard's Tower. And welcome to the dark side of the room. This is the show where we talk about nerd stuff and we paint and we talk about movies and comic books and games and all the stuff that we like to talk about and do, and talk about it from perspectives that not a lot of people may have or have heard, because millions of people out there are into a whole lot of this stuff. So let us sit back. Let us relax. You know what? You should pull up your cup of coffee, because that is what I'm doing myself. Yeah, that's right. We're doing all of that stuff today. And I want to welcome back all of my regulars. I'm doing my best to be back out here and all that stuff. So thank you guys. Now, before we get going and start doing all of the stuff that we would normally do, what I'm going to say is, if you guys want to get a hold of us, okay, y'all want to throw down your comments and all that other stuff, well, there's a couple of things that you can do. Number one, you can leave a comment right here, okay, right here, right there. That's right. I do interact with the chat when I'm talking and all that stuff, so I will answer questions and all that stuff. And of course, you can leave one whether you're watching here. If you're watching in the future on YouTube, then thank you for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe and all that stuff. And if y'all got a real question for me and all that stuff, then you can feel free, and I mean that, to hit me up over at backinthedeck@gmail.com. That is BACKINTHEDECK @gmail.com. You can also hit me up on Twitter and on Instagram and on TikTok and on our Facebook group, Deckers on the Book. I do my best to interact with people, especially when I get DMs and private messages and all that stuff. One day, the day will come where I have so many followers that I won't be able to answer them very quickly, and I am looking for that day. So help us get there. All right. So, we're gonna get there, Neon. We are so gonna get there. Also, you guys can also join the Discord server, which I'm sure Xanathades or Neon Arlecchino will be putting in to the chat at this particular time. Let's just see where that goes and all that. And you know what? Today we are going to be talking about a whole lot of other stuff, and I want you guys to know that if you guys like what you see, there are many ways you can support the channel. The quickest and easiest way, or the least expensive, is to subscribe on YouTube and to use your Amazon Prime coupon to subscribe to the channel for free. You can do that every single month, and that doesn't just help us out, that helps me keep the internet on so that I can keep doing these things. And if you want to donate directly, you can join the Patreon. We have tiers all over the place. Or you can just send a direct one. That would be cool. Hey, thank you, Neon. It's good that you were back. All right, I got you and I got my Xanathades back. Woohoo! This is awesome. So I'm going to get into it, because we're going to be here for the next 2 hours talking about some stuff. And one thing I want to talk about is a big thing. And some of you guys are here because y'all want to know my opinions on this, or you saw the hashtag 40K. And some of y'all might be here to, what's the term? How can I put this? Some of y'all might not like what I have to say. And that's cool, because everyone is entitled to how they feel. However, this is my platform, and I'm going to talk about it. All right. So, as you guys know, I have recently learned Warhammer 40K. Sure, but I have been a gamer since the 1980s. All right. I have been around here for so long, and I have seen so many things, so many bad things, so many better things, and in truth, I'm not going to say we're in a golden age of gaming. That was about 5 years ago, when Critical Role was what everybody was talking about. All right. But we are in one of the best times in the history of Western civilization to be a nerd, a geek, a dweeb, a neo maxi zoom dweeby, um, to be a non-conventional Chad or all that other stuff. Okay, I mean seriously. Um, in the year 2000, X Men went mainstream with the Fox movie. Shortly after that, Lord of the Rings kicked the door open and made fantasy okay. We've got the Spider Man movies and the Marvel Universe to be like, yeah, you know what? It's cool to like comic books and all that stuff. And growing up in my time, that was a number one ready all the way invitation for a fight. Okay, in school or after school, at the parks, whatever it was. If you were a kid reading a book, you got, hey, buddy, come here. What you reading for? You know? But nowadays, it ain't like that. And that is so amazing. That is so awesome. And a whole lot more doors are open to doing that stuff and liking that stuff today than there ever were when I was young. And I love it. Okay? I love it. That being said, there's still a couple of dudes at this party that's trying to keep a few people out this party. And I am straight up saying dudes. All right. There's straight up some dudes at this party that are essentially trying to make the party good for them. And if I gave them the benefit of the doubt, that would mean they are so caught up in what they want, they're not seeing how it can negatively affect the very thing that they love. Okay. Um, in this sense, comic books, RPGs, tabletop minis games, fantasy novels, and all that stuff. Um, when I was growing up and before I was growing up, they were all very, 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 very linked in to the power fantasies of middle class to rich white boys. Okay? And I'm going to just put that out there. Boys. All right? You go back to the number one thing, Star Wars. And Leia was awesome. But for every one Leia, you had a Luke, a Han, a Vader, an Emperor, an Obi-Wan. And, you see what I mean? And it's almost impossible to off the top of your head name the women in Lord of the Rings. Okay? Seriously. Yeah, thank you, Xana. Chewbacca, who actually has a wife and children. But we never see Mrs. Baca. We never see Lil Bacas unless you watch the Star Wars Christmas special. And yeah, if that's the price you got to pay for a little bit of inclusion, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Okay? Yeah. And again, I'm a fan of Mon Mothma. Just think about that. All right. Um, Women in Lord of the Rings. Yeah, Arwen, Galadriel, and Eowyn. That's it. That's what you had. You know. And yes, there were women in Lord of the Rings. Okay. Again, Eowyn was my crush when I was reading the books. Call me crazy. Um, and there's always been this little thing of like no girls allowed. Okay. Oh yeah, Mom Agate. Yeah, yeah, but really, I mean, I could say Rosie, but kind of a thing. But yeah. So so the fact of the matter is that yes, there has always been a lack of representation in a lot of ways. Okay, in a lot of ways. Um, in a lot of this stuff, and it's getting better. Okay, it is not the 1950s, y'all, and I can say that because I've read almost every single Robert A. Heinlein novel that he wrote, and we're talking a different time. Okay, and again, Heinlein is one of my favorite sci-fi authors. Even the women in Dune didn't pay that big of a whole thing. Yeah, see, oh man, I am loving my chat today. You guys are on it. You guys are on it. Um, and that brings us to modern times with a little property that I always talk crap on. But I'm actually going to give them some flowers. I am seriously going to give them some flowers because they did something that, all right, let's be real. What they're doing right now is a very important business move. Okay? It's a really really important business move, and it's time. It is sincerely about time. Now I brought this up a little bit yesterday, okay, which is they're retconning one of their factions. Oh my god, to have women in it. What? There are women in the Adeptus Custodes? What? You mean these 11-foot genetically modified statue esque figures in gold armor that look so gaudy that only people with the minds of Liberace or the artist formerly known as Prince would love them? Yeah. Yeah. And they retconned it to say that they were always there. And guess what? It's almost like, I don't know, saying that you're going to kill one little mayor and everyone loses their minds. I mean, seriously. All right. Now, we talk about a lot of this stuff on the channel, and the whole reason that I created this channel was to talk about stuff from the perspective of people of color, women, LGBTQ, plus the differently abled, the neurospicy, and the fiscally disenfranchised. Okay? That is why I am here. And I've been trying to be nice about it over 8 years. And shouts out to all of you guys that have been staying with me for all that time. All right? But this announcement was put up, and what we got, I pulled up a couple of articles because I like bringing receipts. Yeah, what we got, Warhammer fans are freaking out over Custodians in the new codex. All right. This is at Polygon, and they're super strong, incredibly fast, incorruptible by chaos. But one question lingered: can't they be women? And from the official Warhammer account, these are the people that own the IP that are writing the lore, and they say this is it or this isn't it. The fact of the matter is that they have retconned it to say that women were always part of that army. Always. And people are doing that internet thing. Half of it gets on my nerves because it shows how much stupid is still out there. And the other half of me gets it. These are people trying to make a living too. All right. And as I said yesterday, if I was to go out and say, oh my God, 40K's gone woke, blah, 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 I would probably get 1,000 new subscribers by the end of this podcast. I am not joking. That is what sells. That is what people like talking about, all that jazz. But that ain't me. All right. Because here are the real facts about it. All of these people that are mad that women are being put into something that doesn't exist are fighting and mad because they have to share an idea. Really? You have to share. It's not like they're saying, you're wrong, get out of here, you can't play, you can't read the books, you can't play the video games, you can't make the models, you can't play with the toys. Okay? They're just saying, oh yeah, Sandra's been here the whole time. And they're going, no, you're diminishing me. Shut up. All right? And this isn't just me saying shut up. All right? And I'm serious. I'm really getting out there. But the Gamer magazine has the article, please shut up. Yeah, please shut up. Let's take a look here. Yeah, please shut up about female custodies. Thank you. Just please stop it. All right? Because again, this is coming from the company that owns the IP. If they say it's there, then it's there. You know? And Xanathades makes an amazing point. If you play Custodians and you don't like this, your toys, you can always say, well, mine are all boys. You can say that. Nobody's saying that you can't. All right? But I am infuriated. I will put links to these articles, but I'm infuriated, okay? Infuriated over the fact that people get mad because someone else is allowed to like what they like. Now, there's this whole thing, and I get into discussions with people all the time. They seem to think that segregation is the answer. You know, well, look, there's a whole faction of just women. That's the Adeptus Sororitas, and women are in the Imperial Guard. So what's that saying? In this sci-fi world of genetically modified super soldiers and psychics and space explorers and all of that stuff, men can be more than human, but women have got to pray to a man to get their power. And sorry to tell you guys, because y'all know I totally geek out. It's part of my neurospice. All right. Um, I geek out and went on this just like I'm supposed to like trains. And here's the facts, guys. Real facts. The Sisters of Battle are not all women. So there isn't an entirely female faction. There are men within the Sisters of Battle, and you don't hear anybody complaining about that. It seems that the complaining only comes about when somebody that's not rich, male, and white is being included. It was the same thing with the Little Mermaid. Mermaids don't exist to our knowledge. And if they exist, they may look Celtic, possibly, but they're sea creatures. So the idea that a black woman playing a mermaid, who, by the way, can sing her tail fins off for a musical, oh no, 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 that means no, we can't have that. Or Tolkien didn't write black elves. He also didn't write Scottish ones or Norwegian ones or Russian ones or whatever. They are dwarves. They are elves. They are fictitious creatures. Okay? They do not exist. Okay, now a lot of people, will try and argue this point and all that stuff, but what it comes down to is it ain't the producers of these works. It's you. It's straight up you. In your head, these people can't be black, can't be women, can't be Latino. Okay? They can be multi-armed reptilian creatures that are welcomed in stories. But representation of human beings that actually exist on the planet that don't look like you, that's not welcoming. And when I put that out there, people are like, well, no, I'm a good person. Stop it. I don't care about your character. I don't care if you're a good person. What I do care about is that you're arguing that the producers of a work that you like do not have permission from you to do with their property what they choose to do with it. But you only say that when they open the doors to new people. Okay? Now, I have a friend. They no longer live near me. They had to move out of state because California can sometimes be a hellhole. And they went into the same Warhammer 40K store that I went in 2 years ago. And the manager there said, what are you doing here? Girls don't play this game. And she said, you know what? You're right. And that was 20 years ago. That store no longer exists. But to this day, she refused to play the game because girls don't do it. She doesn't want to be around that. And this is what gatekeepers know, because that's why they're doing it. But see, here's where it's biting you. And this is why it's important to hang out with everybody, okay? Including the gatekeepers. Because if these people have their way, the companies will fold. Okay? And I will give you examples as to how and why. All right? I have been gaming, God, for 37 years. Yeah, I started when I was 10. So about 37 years have I been gaming. Okay? 37. I have seen so many retail stores open and close. I have seen so many companies open, put out their product, and their product never catch on. It never sells. And what does it do? goes right down the tubes. I've seen companies come out with a blast, go way up, and then fall all the way down. Shout outs to Privateer Press. You know, I have seen so many things, all right? But the fact of the matter is that after 1991, the only companies that have managed to stay open are the companies that can appeal to the broadest audience. And I'm sorry to tell you guys this, okay? But the demographic that started gaming back in the 1970s, okay, is less than 14% of the global population. I mean less, okay? Only 14 to 15% of the global population counts as what we in America would call as white. Um, and the marketing demographic for most of these hobby things are for the upper middle class and higher white kids. If you don't believe me, find a Games Workshop store in Appalachia or rural Ohio or most most of the East End in London. You know, find these Games Workshop stores in places where the median income is below the equivalent of $40,000 US dollars. Okay, and you will not find them. They are not built there. I have looked. Okay, there is no Warhammer store in North Las Vegas. There is no Warhammer store in central Los Angeles. And there's definitely not one on the south side of Chicago. And I'm pretty sure there's not one in Flint, Michigan. But I haven't been to Flint because I can't travel everywhere. And that's like a 4-day drive. And I just don't feel like making that drive, that kind of thing. All right. So when these companies milk all the money that they can out of less than 14% of the global population, they look around and go, wait a second, there's another 60% of the planet that wants to throw money at us, but they'll only do so if we make something that they can relate to, ways that they can be included into the power fantasy. But this idea that if I let you in, then you'll kick me out is stupid. Okay? It is absolutely stupid. It does not work. Okay? And again, I never thought I'd be defending Games Workshop on anything. Okay? Anything at all. But you know what? They're saying, now, number one, I will point my finger at them in the sense of this. All right? They're saying that custodians are women. Now, if you guys are part of the Warhammer community, um, uh, wow, I'm not answering that, Zan. Um, yeah. Where was I? That question just totally threw me off my roll here. Um, oh yeah, the big part of the Warhammer 40K community and arguments of all that stuff is that there are no female space marines. They are all boys. They are the Emperor's son. No girls allowed. I'm like, what are you, 8? And the fact that they're making custodies, they're retconning them um, to include women from the very start for these 9 foot tall golden warriors who are wearing armor from head to toe and who stand still for hundreds of years at a time, saying that yeah, some of them were women the whole time. That's just what they are. Um, and people are railing against it. Now, I'm not going to say this is what the community is thinking, but I am going to say it looks a lot like you're thinking that the only way women are allowed in your little playpen is if they are weaker and sexualized. Because sorry to tell you, I love the Sisters of Battle, but all of them have runway model proportions and skin tight armor. And the only other women that are really represented in this thing are all demonettes of Slanesh. And I'm not quite a family friendly channel because of the tobacco smoke, but there are lines I won't cross. So just look up Slanesh on Google and you'll see how the female form is depicted. Now, I think it was like less than a year ago, they released one of my favorite models that they've released, which was an Imperial Guard sergeant who is a big woman in armor. And she's like, I command this whole thing. She actually reminded me of quite a few of my family members, okay? And this woman was nothing to mess with. Oh yeah, Dark Eldar. Yeah, again, Dark Eldar mixed, but again, take a good look at that. You know, um, so so when they have actual representation of women, they are not psychic, not magic, not superpowered. They're either part of the Shadow Legion or with the Sisters of Battle. Yeah, they've got power armor, but they do not have any of the enhancements, and they pray to the Emperor. There's no equality, you know? There's no equality, there's no equity on that. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of these properties and a lot of these companies were created before equity was a thing. Well, it's a thing now. So you either catch up or get left behind. You evolve or you die. That is a fundamental law of all nature. And Games Workshop is doing a little evolution. They're not making Space Marines women right now, okay? But they're saying the other faction, the one that nobody plays anyway, because the folks that want to play can't find people to play with because they're so overpowered and all of that stuff. They just got a new codex which says the new lore and their new rules and all that stuff. And in that they said, yeah, there are women. you know? And I'm like, good. Because this is a setting that's supposed to span millions of planets. I'm not exaggerating. There are millions of planets in the Imperium of Mankind in the 40K lore. And you're telling me that over the course of millions of planets, this is how the population is distributed? Nah, son. Nah. Nah. That ain't the way. And yeah, Zan, the new codex is not so OP and a lot of people are complaining. And I'm really only talking about this because gamers complain. And if you're new, you're going to see a whole lot of that vitriol and viscera, you know. And I'm here to tell you this. Those people may be the loudest voices, but they're not the only voices. In fact, they're the minority, okay? Most players of the game in this generation are just cool people that like playing games. Fact. If you want to make your army, um, let's say an all-female Custodes army and not just the Sisters of Silence that are with them, cool. You want to make a Brother of Silence that essentially is a Sisters of Silence card with a male figure? Cool. They just like playing the game, you know? Maybe 1 out of 20, 1 out of 30 players are actually like that. And I can tell you as an old man by internet standards, who has been in these circles for a long time, okay? 1 out of 30 is an unheard of improvement from when I got started in playing D&D and essentially playing games beyond what you could find at JJ Newberry or Thrifty. Yeah, I'm dating myself. Okay? So now it's 1 out of 30. In another 20 years, it'll probably be like 1 out of 55. Okay? Back then, it was 1 out of 11 that were like that. And when they spoke up, the rest of the room fell silent and I had to go find somewhere else. And I'm not talking about one time. Let's see what we got here. M10. The haters only cry about it being a retcon of lore because the 8th edition codex has a throwaway fluff line about custodians being sons of noble families, but they don't care that the 1st edition had literal female space marines. honestly, most of the people that are complaining have no idea what Rogue Trader is. you know, um, in 20 years, I'll say I'm carbon dating myself. Um, you know, I mean, that's the thing. It's a bunch of angry people who are afraid of being left behind. And some that want to keep things like for themselves. They're selfish children that go, if I share with someone else, I won't have anything for myself because not having it all is the equivalent of not having any. And to those people, I say, grow up. Okay, grow up. I think Miss Moose a lot said at the beginning of the show, yeah, let's go back to kindergarten and learn how to share, boys. you know, and it's really a serious thing because this happened about a week ago, and I do my absolute best to curate my YouTube feed for stuff that won't just make me not face palm, but do the old man nose pinch. And I saw the people complaining about woke X-Men. I'm like, somebody's never cracked a comic. And now they're saying, oh, because James Workshop's giving into the woke. Shut up. Just shut up. Yeah, they're letting people other than you play. And they're not even saying you can't. You know? And look, I'm going to be real. The lore of 40K is problematic AF. Okay? 40K is like, a lot of people say there are no good guys in 40K. That is soft language in the same way that the HR department tells you that you're never getting a raise. Okay? Everyone in 40K are villains. They're all evil. Okay? It's not that there are no good guys in 40K. It's everyone you can play is bad. Okay? Horrible. It's all villains all the time. Okay? Everybody's coded for a different type of bad guys throughout the history of the human race. That's part of its satire. All right? And not satire as in it's just a joke, but satire meaning if you side with this, you might want to take a look at yourself and where you fit in society to make sure that you're on the right side of history. Satire, not parody. Okay? Need some more coffee for this. Uh so yeah. When it comes down to these things, um the fact of the matter is that when people complain about all this stuff, it comes down to two reasons that they would. One is clout, and the other is they're trying to not be left behind. The part that I find super funny, and I mean this really, really, really funny about this, is if they get their way, the very thing that they don't want to happen will happen, which is the companies will fold. Okay? How do I know? Let's just look at the math. All right? Just the math. 90% of the people that are complaining about all this stuff have 1.5 copies of everything that this company produces that they have interest in. Okay? Seriously. They are not going to be able to outspend the new market. Okay? If Games Workshop includes more women, more LGBTQ, more people that aren't the demographic that it's been playing to for almost 40 years, that means those people, 60% of the other 84% of the planet, will start to buy their product. So the only way these people can actually win this fight is to outspend the new market. Okay? Straight up. That's the only thing. All right? Got a question from Heather Johnson. Why do most 40K players have a problem about women being in the game? Honestly, misogyny, not hatred, but fear that if women or people of color or anything like that come into the game, that they'll be pushed out. And I'm going to tell you guys something. I may be telling them to grow up and to shut up and to stop it. And I'm saying this, but I want you guys to know that I see you and I understand you. Okay? Let me give you an example. My main miniature game for 15 years was War Machine from Privateer Press. Loved that game. Okay? It was a skirmish game that the players tried to make a full-fledged army game, whatever. Now, this came out when I was not a fan of competitive play. And in a lot of ways, I'm still not. Okay? But War Machine really hit its stride, as in it got its rules together and it created a really fun game that flowed well around 40K's 7th edition. Okay, I remember it like it was yesterday, and I wasn't even playing 40K. But see, when 7th edition dropped, a lot of 40K players left 40K. They didn't like the new rules, they didn't like the new lore, and they came in to War Machine. And what the tournament players, and I specifically say the tournament players for 40K, did was they came in their much higher numbers and they changed the culture of War Machine. And they made the game that we played that was very fun, not very fun at all for us anymore. So a good amount of us left because our player pool on a global level were not people that were playing the game the way that we wanted to play the game. Okay. I mean, they were all about cost per average, broken combos and winning by not allowing your opponent to play. We're talking hardcore competitive play. All right. And the fact of the matter is, the people that were playing War Machine, that wasn't what they wanted out of the game. So they left. Okay. And then Games Workshop dropped Games Workshop dropped 8th edition 40K, and all of those people that were playing War Machine left War Machine and went back to 40K. Okay? And poor Privateer Press was hit hard because no one was coming to their events and no one was buying their new stuff because the people that liked the game were pushed out by the 40K players, and then the 40K players left. So there was no one there. And Privateer took a hit and literally had to restructure everything about their business, from production design to the games that they were releasing and to the way they run their community. And they still haven't recovered. Okay? Hey, Malcolm. Well, you're welcome. I just don't know what you're thanking me for, but you're welcome. Have I made any new miniatures? I'm getting to that, and on Friday we're gonna do a little more painting. Okay. So yeah. Hang on. So I get that that's what they're afraid of because I've watched it happen with a game that I cared about. The part that they are not understanding is that the people that are being let in aren't generally like that. There's an old saying in the United States of a lot of people are afraid that if you treat immigrants and black people with the respect that they deserve, they will turn around and do to white people what white people did to them. And that hasn't been the case. Every advancement that's been made by any set of immigrants or black people over the course of American history has been met with, cool, thanks. Not with, now that I'm here, it is time for vengeance. And honestly, I pity it. It's a paradigm thing. Okay. Not everybody thinks like you, bruh. Not matter of fact, more people think in a different way than thinks like you. All right. I mean, that's the fact of the matter. Now Neon Arlecchino says, makes me nervous that now that Custodesand whiners are looking at OPR. Quite honestly, they won't be able to take over one-page rules, in the same way they won't be able to do to one page rules what those bad faith actors did to War Machine, because one page rules is an entirely different monetary model. Okay, entirely different. One, they're Patreon based. Two, their rules are free. You know, um, Heather Johnson's like, we just want to live. Thank you. Yeah, we just want to live. That's it. That's all. That's all we want. Just we want to do our thing. You can do your thing unless your thing is to make sure that we can't do our thing. But our thing is just doing our thing. You know. And OPR lets people do their thing. Seriously. Yes, I'm still a shill for that company. And no, I don't have any sponsorships from them because I suck at editing and I haven't been able to publish any battle reports. But that time is coming. Hang on. Ah, yeah, that time is coming. I've got some stuff coming down the pike. It's just still having to get my day gigs and all that stuff because I said Tuesday I have to come up with 5 grand or I'm gonna lose my house because of the stuff that came down when I had to come up with 10 grand or lose my house. So it's tough. All right. Um, but with the whole OPR thing, OPR is a completely different model, and they're a company that doesn't actually need the support of the 40K community because they created a game. I don't know if it was intentional or a happy accident that embraces the people that the gatekeepers of 40K have shut the door on and left in the cold. Okay? Um, those of us that weren't welcomed into the store, those of us that didn't have a house to get a second mortgage on to purchase an army. A lot of us that did and did all the work and was told that we couldn't paint our models in the store because we didn't spend $1,500 that day, even though we did before. That's OPR is saying, guys, come over here. In the same way that Privateer Press said, hey, guys, come over here. You know, so the fact of the matter is they're fine. And as time has moved on, there have been more of us, specifically the people that don't want to spend 7 hours playing one game against one opponent. You know, that is a very good question, Neon Arlecchino. How big of a role do I think being miniature agnostic plays? Honestly, I think it plays a huge role, a huge, huge, huge role, because though Games Workshop primarily, but a lot of games that have a competitive scene have shaped the culture to be suspicious of people that use proxies. Um, that was just a terrible gatekeeping tactic that kept the community small and insular. Okay. Um, Miniature agnostic is the way of the miniatures game right now. Okay, and all the companies that aren't Games Workshop understand that. Um, but again, Games Workshop is a miniature making company. They're not games. Yes, they do books and stuff like that, but the lion's share of their money comes from selling Space Marines. Um, but the fact that there is a game that is fun to play that doesn't take forever to learn and forever to play, i.e., a gaming system or a gaming company that doesn't base their system on a boutique model, which in and of itself is very exclusionary, not exclusive, exclusionary. And second, um, it's not built on the sunken cost fallacy. Because a lot of people that are unhappy with Games Workshop look at the time and money that they've spent into 40K over the editions, and they don't want to give it up. They honestly feel like a lot of that has been wasted because of where the game is going. So now it's like I've got shelves and shelves of models and what am I going to do with them and blah blah blah. But now you've got companies like OPR or Tabletop Minions or all of the companies that are out there producing models, and God bless Osprey as well, saying, "Oh, you got those? You can use those here." You know, um, so being miniature agnostic is a door open for a much larger market of the miniature gaming or the miniature hobby than Games Workshop can really appeal to. Okay. And don't get me wrong, they've got the largest percentage of market share now. But 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, especially given the economies of, excuse me, the US, the UK, and Canada, oh, and Australia, people can't afford Games Workshop prices right now. So Games Workshop is probably going to open up their doors away from that whole exclusivity thing in order to keep new blood flowing into the system because every other company is doing it. And even the companies that produce their own miniatures, like OPR, Osprey, um, um, Miniature Combat, Night Models, the stuff that they're producing costs half as much as the stuff from Games Workshop. And people keep going, the people that are on the Games Workshop train, the hype people for them or the shows for them are like, well, their models don't have nearly as much detail. True. But does that matter to the majority of people looking to get into these games and these hobbies? And I'll tell you, as a person who does not enjoy painting as much as people thinks he does, the amount of detail in a lot of these models are just too much for me to care about. But using but cutting my chops on a lot of these agnostic games out there, like one page rules and the stuff from Osprey, and then painting models from like Lord of the Rings, and customizing Hot Wheels and stuff where I have control over how much detail is there. I can have more detail. I can have the detail that lines up with my skill level and not feel overwhelmed and not have too many feel bad moments, and that'll get me up to where I can paint the Games Workshop promotional models, one day, you know. But I'm not chasing the non-metallic metal train. I'm not trying to get a golden demon. I'm not trying to do all that stuff. I just want my guys to look pretty while I push them across the board going pew pew rar, you know. But back to the whole thing about the custodies, yeah, it's been retconned. Women have already been there. Get used to it, or throw your passion into something else that wants to stay inclusive or exclusionary and closed off. You know, um, feel free, feel free to try and throw your time into stuff that makes your sister, daughter, niece, or girlfriend feel like they're not welcomed. Have fun with that. But the thing that you used to have that does that wants their money too. And their wallets mean a lot more than your feelings. So that's just where it goes. Anyway, let's take a commercial break. And then we're going to come back and we're going to bust a recap on one of my favorite things. Hey, subscribers and people watching on YouTube, how you doing? Yeah, I just had an hour rant about that, and that is really a big thing. Um, I'm putting my donations tabs in the chat right now because I'm broke and I have a lot of stuff I have to pay for, and I need your help. I mean, it's that simple. All right, so here we go on that. Share it and let them know that a good man is trying to do some good stuff in a terrible world. Um, but yeah. Mm. No, I didn't mention B. Arthur or Betty White once. I was on such a tear that I didn't go on a Golden Girls rant. But you know what? If you want to put the Golden Girls onto um, your Custodes armies, go for it. I would love to see Blanche as a Venerous Praetor. That would be awesome because if any of them were going to be bikers, it would be her. So yeah, I mean, seriously, that's a real thing. That is a real thing. That is something that was supposed to be good. So yeah. Anyway, we should be coming back in just a minute. So hi, how you guys doing? um, so now I want us to go on. I'm turning this into a segment, although there was a time where this was a whole show. But Unfortunately, I couldn't do it anymore because I didn't have the co-hosts and stuff, and it's really hard to come up with stuff like that. But so what are we doing now? It is time. It is that time for us. Well, it is really time for us. It's time for us to bust a recap on one of my favorite movies. All right. And here's the thing. Why am I turning this into a segment? Well, I'm gonna put this out there for you guys, okay? I live by myself. Okay. I'm not saying I sit alone in impotent exile while this presence comes to torment me. No, no, no. I live by myself. Okay. And that being said, when I get home from work, um, and I'm too tired to go anywhere, and it's past business hours on most day, I don't have many people to hang out with, because I live 20 miles away from one of my closest friends. So what do I do? One of the things I do is I like watching reaction videos. There are some really cool reactors that are out there. Give them a subscribe and a like and tell them that I sent you. Um, like James versus Cinema is one of my favorites. Mr. Video, Media Nights is I love those guys amazingly. Um, and when I do that, I kind of get on a kick. I let myself fall down a rabbit hole. Oh, and of course the Rob Squad reactions. The Rob Squad is amazing. They are a couple in Oklahoma, and they are just nice. And I'm like, you know what? I'm spending time watching nice people react to stuff that I grew up with, like Prince songs, Bob Seger songs, and a lot of movies I grew up with. And I'm like, I wanted to do movie reviews when I started this, but you know. But out of nowhere, in my feed, I started getting um I started getting suggestions in my YouTube feed that said, look at the reaction to your absolute number one favorite children's movie that's ever been made. And I'm going, oh, well, since I watch this movie once every 3 months, let's see how the younger generation, let's see how the people follow up behind me, um, take a reaction to something from my childhood. Let's take a look at that. Let's see what these young bloods think about stuff that formed and shaped me. Now, unfortunately, I have not found any reaction videos to Reading Rainbow episodes. Oh, but you know what? If you guys are part of the Patreon, we might look for some, find some, and do like a whole reaction to their reaction as well. So sign up for the Patreon. You can do so for as little as $1, but $5 would be really cool. And if you're on the $100 tiers, you rock. But there have been a lot of reactions to one of my absolute, not one of, my absolute favorite children's movie of my entire lifetime. Okay. More than bed knobs and broomsticks. Way more than everything Disney has ever done. Yes, including in the Disney Renaissance in the 90s. And I messes with Aladdin. All right. But if I had to choose this movie versus any other children's movie, I'm just like, you know what? There's really no point in even asking me that question. That question has been answered. Okay? It has been answered, and it has been answered for decades. Okay? I'm talking at least at least at least 30 years. Okay? My absolute favorite children's movie. And of course, um we're talking the movie responsible for, according to some people, um how can I put this? An unfair amount of childhood trauma. Okay? And y'all know, if you're not strangers to the channel, that I'm a Don Bluth kid. So I am all about, you know, showing kids stuff that is scary. Okay? But I'm talking, oh my God. Hang on. I'm just trying to find this thing here. I am talking the gloriously wonderful German directed fantasy film, The Never Ending Story. Oh my God. Let me get into that. All right. So, first, I'm going to bust a recap on it. And I'm letting you guys know right now, I got no notes. Okay. So, the movie opens with a dream sequence, followed by Barrett Oliver, our young boy, Sebastian Books, waking up and going to breakfast, going downstairs to breakfast with his father, Major Dad. And his father, Major Dad, makes the worst breakfast drink in the history of breakfast, being a raw egg and orange juice, while talking about the fact that Bastian's mother, his wife, is now dead and gone, and they have to move on with their lives, while he scolds him about not joining the swim team, not being boyish enough to ride horses because he's afraid of them, and keeping his feet on the ground because sooner or later you've got to grow up, my 10-year-old son. Um, Bastian then tries to go to school, and as he goes to school, he's accosted by 1980s bullies who want to beat him up and shake him down and take his money and throw him in the garbage. Okay. Unfortunately, he has no money, so they just throw him in the garbage. And if you guys are wondering, now, the people that came around after me, okay, we're talking millennials and we're talking Generation Z. This is a Generation X and earlier thing because when we were growing up, bullies were physical. All right, they would do physical harm to us and throw us in dumpsters with broken glass and infections and stuff like that. Some of them would even try to take our lives. So that cartoonishly bully things that you guys talk about with Stephen King movies, and like watching Karate Kid and how they push him off his bike to roll down a hill. Yeah, guess what? That's what they did back then. All right. And unfortunately, our parents, and then later on us, because I'm part of Generation X and we kind of messed this up too, we didn't address what makes kids bullies. What we did was made it bad for them to physically harm people, so they turned to emotional abuse. And I'm sorry. Okay. I did my best. I did my best to get people to actually deal with the root of the problem and not just the way that they bullied people. But I'm only one man against an entire society. So, yeah, these kids, they're not cartoonishly evil villains from a Stephen King novel. They literally did what I saw kids do every day growing up. Every day, you know? Um, from the physical punishment to throwing in the garbage to making the kids sit in garbage. And it's like, where are these kids' parents? Working. That's where these kids' parents are, you know? And so he climbs out of the trash can. They try and chase him down and put it back in. He runs into a bookstore where he comes across Mr. Coriander or Oleander, depending on if you read the book or watched the movie. And, Oleander is like, get out of here. I don't want where the video games were held. This was before everybody had a console or a computer in their pocket, you know. And Sebastian's like, I know books. I have 137 at home. Yeah, comic books. Like, no, I've read Lord of the Rings, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Great Expectations, Tarzan. Whoa, whoa, whoa! What's going on, boy? I'm chased down by bullies. Why don't you punch him in the nose? They want to throw me in the garbage. And the bookstore owner is like reading a book, and Bastian's like, well, what about that book? And he's like, oh, this book ain't for you. This book is not for you. Okay? And I'm an old crotchety man, so it's not like I don't know that telling a curious child that the answer is no isn't going to make them want it even more. And, they had that really great moment of like when you're reading and you're Captain Nemo in your submarine while the giant squid is attacking you, or you're Tarzan and it's like, yeah, but that's what I like about books. He says in a very 10-year-old whiny boy voice, not that I'm identifying with him 100% anyway. And he's like, exactly. Those books are safe. This book is not for you. Hey, conveniently timed phone call. And he goes to answer the phone and kind of leaves the book right here because this book is not for you, child. And I'm trusting you, child, not to pick up this book, child. So I'm just going to leave this book that I know you want and I just told you not to look at. I'm going to leave this right in your hands. Like, you all you got to do is just reach out and take it, but I'm going to leave it right here and then I'm going to turn my back and go to a different room, and answer this phone call. Don't take the book. Since I don't know who you are, where you live, I'm asking you not to steal the book. I'm gonna just go over here. Yeah, yeah. And of course he takes the book. So sure enough, boy takes the book. He gets to school and he's like, "Oh my God, I'm so late for math class." And this movie shows that it was not filmed in the United States because he then gets to live out every Generation Xer's dream of missing something at school, which is finding the key to the most awesome and amazing attic you will ever see in your entire life. Lights up some candles because there's candles and matches and somewhere where there are hundreds of kids, and starts to read the book. you know, and then we're introduced to the world of Fantasia. Okay, Fantasia in the movie, Fantastica in the book. Okay, and we get to meet our first fantasy characters of the story: the little man with his racing snail, the night hob with the stupid bat, and of course the rock biter. And they're running away from this thing called the Nothing. Take note, this is important. And they go to see the childlike empress, and they go to the ivory tower, and you get to see every single B-roll barely used alien from Roger Corman, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, John Carpenter, all in one room. Okay, with our boy Moses Gunn, who I can look at and say grandpa, and he says the Nothing is destroying our world, and there's nothing the Empress can do to stop it. And so, Bastion is reading this book, and he's like, "All right, what's this Nothing thing? What's all that stuff? Let's take a look at that." And they summon Atreyu, and it's a little boy. It's a little boy that's been called by the Plains people, who in the book is very much coded to be an indigenous American, very Inuit because he hunts the purple buffalo. But we got super gorgeous for his age and part of the reason for my body dysmorphia, Noah Hathaway, showing up going, "Hey, I'm master of swagger." And it's like, "No, we didn't want Atreyu the child. We want Atreyu the warrior." And he's like, "I'm the only Atreyu of the Plains people. But I can always go back hunting the buffalo if y'all don't want to be at this." Swinging certain appendages to be like 18 inches to 15 feet long. Like, excuse me, let me just get out of here with my enormous competence. And he's like, no, wait. If you are Atreyu, would you be willing to go on a quest? And he's like, of course. What kind of a quest? And he has to go out and find a cure for the childlike empress who is sick, and whose sickness has some connection to the Nothing, And he gets on his beautiful, beautiful white horse Artax, and they ride across this fantasy world to places that you miss as a child, but you start to get it when you get older, as they ride across the sea of shattered hopes, and the crystal towers, and the canyons of broken dreams. And they come to the first of our legendary places. Okay, the legendary places within this fantasy world, which are great places when you look at this from a standpoint of psychological development. All right. And what do I mean? Well, they come across a place that is so amazing that I even use it in my D&D games. It is that serious. It is that up there, guys. And we are talking the swamps of sadness, where here's the rule. If you let the sadness of the swamp overtake you, you will sink and fall, and you will sink and drown and die in the swamps of sadness. And of course, we end up having a moment where everyone knows this face. That's right. That particular face, I am going to say if you know, you know, but by the end of this recap, oh, you go know. Oh, boy, are you going know. Because again, we're like, oh my God, well, just don't be sad. You're on a quest. You're doing this whole thing. But nobody thought about whether or not animals feel emotions. And yeah, we get to see the beautiful white horse that our hero is riding in. Have a couple of moments of, you know what, this place really, really, really hurts. And I am not gonna lie, I am not gonna lie. I'm not. This is me not lying. Okay. Um, when I was a kid, this kind of hit me. Okay, not gonna lie, it kind of hit me, but it didn't hit me nearly as much as it hits a lot of people that react to that video. Okay, um, every reactor that I have watched literally ends up in tears, and I get it. I get it 100%. Um, you know, because they're like, "Oh my God, the horse," and they really put themselves into the role. They self insert with the whole thing, and I've never done that as a kid. I was always third party observer because there were never many stories about people who looked like me, lived like me, had the same problems that I had in the places that I had. Okay, um, this is why representation matters. But yeah, when that happens, and I'm not gonna lie, man, it is a very sad scene, if you will. Okay, it is a very sad scene. Um, and I'm looking for the shot real quick because after the horse sinks, they even cut back, and this is amazing filmmaking. I'm not gonna lie. This is the type of filmmaking that I love. In the sense of nope, nope, nope. Oh, seriously? Yep. Well, essentially, it falls down, and then it cuts back to Atreyu sitting in the mud, and we get to see the space that Artax was under, and we got bubbles coming up, and it was like, oh, for those of you guys in the back, there was a horse there 5 minutes ago, and oh my God, people cry, and it cuts to Barrett Oliver as Sebastian, also weeping, okay, just weeping, and I'm gonna be real with y'all. I'm kind of a monster sometimes. Okay, I really am. Because when I'm watching these reactions, I'm just kind of going, let me just skip over most of this movie, and because I see people going, "Oh my God, that's such a beautiful horse," and I'm sitting in my living room watching this on my big TV, going, "Wait." I mean that's just where I am because I'm a monster. Rar. Okay, I get it. Um, and so he has to go see Morla, the ancient one in the Shell Mountain. And again, we've had the lesson um of the don't let the sadness overtake you. And it's like, oh, when you drown in sadness, you lose yourself and you end up not being there anymore. That's fascinating. Um and he goes to see Morla, the ancient one. you know. And Morla's reaction to everything is, I don't care. Matter of fact, we don't even care whether or not we care. You can't do it. It's pointless. Give up. And he gets told that he has to go see the Southern Oracle, and he's told that he can't get there because it's 10,000 miles away, twisting the knife of the fact that he lost his horse. It's like, dude, it's 10,000 miles away. And it's like, oh, ouch. And they don't say, it's 10,000 miles away. And didn't you have a horse like 10 minutes ago? No, it doesn't do that. Mm. You know, and then we cut to Bastion still reading the book, and school is out, and he's like, I ain't going home, you know. And then we cut to the necessary action scene of the Gamork, the creature that set out on its quest when Atreyu set out on his. And it's hunting down Atreyu, and Atreyu, who has had the worst day ever, starts sinking into the swamp because he's walking through the swamp. His horse is gone. He's got to go 10,000 miles in a direction that he doesn't even know what's up. It is just overwhelming. And then the world's best boy, the world's best boy, ends up coming out of the clouds to save him from everything. And we're talking about um the bestest of boys, played by the bestest of guys. Hey, little guy, hey, how you doing? I'm doing your nose. All right, look at this, I'm doing your nose. Falcor the Luck Dragon. All right, and Falcor the Luck Dragon is just like, oh, dude, no, I got you, boo, I got you. It's like, but I can't get there. It's 10,000 miles away, and he's like, no, it's just around the corner. And he's like, what are you talking about? You brought me the entire 10,000 miles? He's like, no, only 9,871. As the dragon flies, that kind of thing. And I'm just like, oh my God, he's the bestest of boys. I just want to scratch behind his ears. And, he then meets Ingabok and Urgle, who are the scientific specialist of the Southern Oracle. And he finds out that there is a gate to the Southern Oracle that you must pass in order to enter the Southern Oracle. In order to go see the Southern Oracle, you have to pass through a gate. And coincidentally, because it's a story, we got a dude that's in armor, and he's like, yeah, guess what? I'm gonna pass through that gate because that's just how I roll. Look at me, boys. That's what I'm doing. I'm passing through that gate. And good old Ingabok is like, yeah, there's one that looks fancy. And he's like, no, 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 no. Just, you got to believe in yourself. And it doesn't matter what you wear, doesn't matter what you look like. If you know your worth, you can pass through this. And you could be sitting up there in your armor and all that stuff, and blam, you are gone, daddy. Gone. You don't know your worth. You don't believe in what you actually are. You will be smoten. Okay? These things will smite you if you don't understand how good you are, how special you are, how unique and valuable you are. If you don't honestly believe it, if you don't internalize the fact that you matter, then you will be smoten down by the guardians, by the gate guardians of the places that you want to be. Okay? And since it's a story of Atreyu tries, he runs. And he even gets to the second gate. And in the second gate, he learns that the second gate shows you exactly who you are. Not who you think you are, not who you believe you are, but who you truly are at your core. And can you handle that? Because if you can't, you run away screaming, gouging out your own eyes. By the way, yes, this is a children's book. Because Germany is awesome. And of course, in the book, it pretty much describes Sebastian, who's reading the book about the magic mirror, and it describes him to what he's wearing, what he's doing, and where he is. And he, but Atreyu and Bastion come through this, and Atreyu walks through the door, sees the oracle, which I'm not going to show because let's just say the oracles are kind of thick, even though they're part bird. You know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. Um, and he finds out that he has to give the princess a new, or the empress a new name. Has to give the empress a new name. And he's like, dude, I can give her any name she wants. And it's like, you can't do it. It's got to be somebody from outside the boundaries of Fantasia. Okay, it can't be you. It can't be any of us because if it was any of us, it would be pretty easy to get it done. But nope, that ain't how it works. It's got to be somebody from the outside. So you got to go past the boundaries of our universe and or go through past the boundaries of what you know to be our world to find somebody that can do it. But then they come face to face with the nothing, the whole problem that this thing is, and he gets separated from Falcor, and he ends up in the Hall of Memory, where there are tapestry type murals of everything that he'd been done. Everything that he's been doing on this whole thing, it's on the wall. And they remind us that he started off this journey with a horse. And so sure enough, he gets to see one of the big points that's there, and he gets to meet our antagonist, you know. And sure enough, our antagonist does his thing.
Can I help you?
If you come any closer, I will rip you to shreds.
Which, is kind of the thing. And here's the thing. A lot of folks um who watch this movie and who know this movie, they're traumatized from the horse, okay? But here we are, and um we have our bad guy. And our our bad guy finally gives us the explanation to everything that we've needed to know so far. And this is where the movie grabbed me as a child. Let's take a look.
No boundaries.
Trey, you just found out.
That's not true.
Yeah.
You're lying.
Foolish boy. Don't you know anything about Fantasia?
No.
It's the world of human fantasy. Every part, every creature of it is a piece of the dreams and hopes of mankind. Therefore, it has no boundaries.
And when you hear that, again, when I heard this as a child, I was like, what? Tell me more about this. Everything I imagine, every imaginary game that I play with myself, every story I write, every poem I come up with, every fantasy that I have about flying or swinging through the sky like Spider-Man or saving a bunch of people, it adds to this world. That is amazing. And I'm just like, dude, I am all in. All right. I am totally, totally all in. You know? And I'm just like, all right, dude, this got me. This got me hard. Um, but then they exposit a little bit more. And this right here is one of the biggest reasons that I do and have always believed that this is one of the most important movies for anyone to watch with their children. Okay? Seriously. No jokes, no bit, no nothing. Okay? Let us take a look. Ooh. Oh, thanks, Zan. I'm gonna do that again because that bears repeating. Um, I almost had a great clip. Yeah. So here we go. So yeah, let's take a really good look. And like I said, this no joke, no bits, no nut. Like I am seriously. This is why, in my opinion, every parent should sit their kid down and have them watch this movie. Okay, because we've had the nothing coming through, and they're like, "Ah, nothing was left. A hole? No, a hole would be something." Or if you don't tell me, you'll die too. Die? That at least would be something. So the nothing has been going through, and let's take a look.
But why is Fantasia dying then?
Because people have begun to lose their hopes and forget their dreams. So the nothing grows stronger.
What is the nothing?
It's the emptiness that's left. It is like a despair destroying this world. And I have been trying to help it.
Bruh. 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 Okay? The world of human fantasy, Fantasia, the place where all of us contribute to every time we sit down and play a game of imaginary friends or something with our kid. Every time we sit down to have a tea party. Every time our kid pretends to be a knight fighting dragons and all that stuff is adding to this luscious world. But it is being destroyed by the emptiness that's left when people forget their hopes and lose their dreams. Bruh. Just the despair that's left over when you lose all hope. And I'm just like, okay, bro, what am I watching? Oh my God. You know, and again, kid story. All right, kid story. Can you imagine how much differently things would be if we explain to our children that there is a hopelessness and an emptiness that's there when they forget their hopes, when they forget their dreams, you know? Um it's like the nothing is the force that fills all of us when we complain about female space marines and female custodies. But yeah, we've got Xenothates over here saying, and the nothing is growing faster than fantasy. Thank you. Oh my God. Want to talk timeless and timely? I'm just like, dude. And again, this is my favorite children's flick. Every time it came on TV when I was a kid, I watched it. I watched the crap out of this, okay? Over and over and over and over again. I'm just like, dude, the emptiness that gets left when you lose your hopes and your dreams. Now, for those of you guys new to the channel, I grew up in the hood. All right? I grew up in the hood in the middle of the crack epidemic. I saw the nothing every day. I saw schools full of people that didn't have enough hopes and dreams to believe that they could be doctors or lawyers. Okay. Half of my school, when this movie was in theaters, didn't think that they would live long enough to be 18 years old. And here we have this movie showing what it looks like when people lose their hopes and forget their dreams. And I'm going, dude, it was the first time when I was a kid that I didn't feel crazy and alone, because there was a writer in Germany that got it in a way that um that I didn't get it, or got it in the way that I got it, and was able to give words to it that I didn't have the vocabulary for. So anyway, big confrontation happens. Bastion kills the Gamork. Or not Bastion, sorry. Atreyu kills the Gamork. almost gets sucked up by the nothing, gets rescued by Falcor. They find the they find the they find the ivory tower that that the Empress lives at, and says, "Okay, well maybe we failed on the quest. Um and maybe we should, talk a little bit cuz I don't know what to do and all that stuff." And
Here.
and a really cool thing happens. Um really cool thing happens where Atreyu talks to the Empress, thinking that he has failed. He failed the quest. The Ivory Tower is the only place that's left in Fantasia. The rest of the entire empire and world that's there are asteroids floating in space. Okay? And real talk, I'm gonna let this scene play, so we can talk about it a bit. But and this is really big, okay? This is gonna be real big. This is some of the realest acting that Noah Hathaway has done in the whole thing, and we are right there. All right, let's take a look.
Atreyu, why do you look so sad?
He's all beaten up and bloody and just and he's like, "Sorry, man. I did what I could. You know." And before we go on to the next bit, let's give a shout out to these child actors, okay? There was a time where she was my least favorite part of this movie because I'm sitting up in my 20s going, she should not be that attractive. I'm like, yeah, this should not. And then I'm like, wait, it's a fantasy movie. And the fact that the fantasy world is actually ruled by a child empress, I'm like, dude, because in Western civilization, every little girl imagines or is told that they should imagine to be a princess and all that stuff. So you put all them together and you get an empress. But yeah, I love the fact that they said childlike because she don't talk like a regular little girl. So let's take another look at this.
Failed you, Empress?
No, you haven't. You brought him with you.
And again, the quest
Who?
was
The Earthling child,
the whole quest was to get a
The
human
one.
child, right?
who can save us all.
You know about the Earthling child?
Of
course.
course. I knew everything.
Here we go.
My horse died. I nearly drowned. I just barely got away from the nothing. For what? To find out what you already knew?
So, seriously speaking, at that point, even as a child, I have never, ever, 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 ever been able to hear someone scream the B word without actually saying it more than I did in that scene. Oh my God. And you know what? Major shout outs to Noah Hathaway because, yeah, it's, seriously, I'm just like, dude, just dude. Oh, man. Before I go back to this, we got what is that comment? Deeply perplexed how we're here. Who's talking there? Oh, cheerful entropy. We're talking about the never-ending story, bro. Because I wanted to do a recap on honestly my favorite children's movie of all time. And yeah, so yeah, we got Atreyu seriously going, hold up, you knew about a why couldn't you just tell me from the beginning? My horse would have lived. An entire 2 to 3 generations of people would have lived without the trauma of seeing my horse die if you had just told me that this is what we got to do. And her explanation for it makes all the sense in the world.
It was the only way to get in touch with an Earthling.
But I didn't get in touch with an Earthling.
Yes, you did. He has suffered with you. He went through everything you went through.
And we got Barrett
Yes, come
Oliver
here.
showing some of the best
with you.
solo acting
He's
work
very close.
ever.
Listen
Just looking, going, what?
to every word.
And I gotta give it, I really,
say.
really gotta give it to the
What?
actress who plays the Empress, because she is really good at the, oh, I know a great many things that you don't, you know? And then the movie gets super meta, and she just, and you know, and they have the great big climax of the movie. But then after all is said and done, Bastion gets to talk to Moonchild. And yes, I am referencing her by her name because it took me 30 years to understand what that boy yelled, because the sound design people were just tired of making this movie at this point. So his mother's name was Moonchild, all right? And they have a great conversation.
In the beginning, it is always dark.
And I'm like, okay.
What is that? One grain of sand. It is all that remains of my vast empire.
Darn. Now-
Fantasia has totally disappeared? Yes.
Again, they must do it differently in other
Everything's been
countries
in
because our
vain.
child actors don't bring it this
No.
hard.
It hasn't. Fantasia can arise in you. From your dreams and wishes, Bastian. How? Open your hand.
Yeah. And so she gives him the one grain of sand. And I'm just like, dude, okay.
What are you going to wish for? I don't
And
know.
yeah. What is that about giant
Then
lobsters?
there will be no
Vividly will
Fantasia.
call the sequence. Oh, that was from the Neverending Story Part 2. The giant lobsters came from Part 2, and we don't recognize Part 2 as something that actually
Many
happened.
as you want.
So,
And the more wishes you make,
the more
the
magnificent
more magnificent
Fantasia will become.
Really? Try it.
You know, and I'm just sitting up, you know, as a kid, I'm looking at this and I'm like, dude. Now, I watched a reaction for this and it showed me how much things have changed, because the kid watching this is like, so is he going to wish for his mom to come back to life? And I'm like, that is cynical. That really is cynical. And it's not within the mind of a 10-year-old child. You know, it's the, I have as many wishes as I want, and I can wish for everything and all that stuff. And after everything that we went through, and I promise you, as many times as I've watched this movie, that thought only hit my head after I was like 35. Okay. And of course, Sebastian wishes for the thing that everyone watching this movie at the time really wished for. So much so that it has been parodied many, many times. And when I say many, I mean one that everybody really knows. Yeah. You know.
Oh, beautiful, I saw it!
Yeah. You know. And yeah, we do see some nods to Game of Thrones. We see some nods to a whole lot of things here. And
Falcor is wonderful!
I'm not gonna lie, the next trip I take to Germany, I'm going on the ride that is this.
Falcor, it's like the nothing never
And everybody's
was.
back. And for those of you guys with trauma, or as Neon Arlecchino stated, with horse trauma, we know, you know, we get shown right here that the horse is all right. The horse is all right. So yeah, and And that is actually pretty awesome. You know, he goes through all that stuff. And of course, his second wish is, while I'm riding a dragon, where are those bullies? So, again, but that's just the recap on the movie. All right. Now, why am I doing this segment? Well, I'm gonna explain to you guys. You too, cheerful entropy. Why is this one of my favorite movies? Or my favorite, why is this my favorite child movie ever? Because it does not pull any punches when it comes to the questions that it asks and the themes that it explores. Okay, this movie is very much about a kid coming to terms with the death of his mother, and when he goes through, let's see, I may, I'm beginning to suspect that I just fast forwarded to the puppets and dragon parts. Yeah, a lot of people did. But when you look at this movie, you see it opens with a boy and his father grieving about the loss of his mother and his father's wife. And his father's way of dealing with that trauma is to shut down, focus, and just stay on task. Keep your feet on the ground, do your work, just going through all that stuff. But Bastion doesn't work like that, you know? And he reads about a book where the hero has got to find a name for an empress, okay? And it was said very clearly in the movie The Crow that mother is the name of God on the lips and hearts of children. And at 10, 11 years old, especially sons, okay? Real talk, especially sons. And so this son loses his mother, who, as you can tell from the beginning of the movie, was definitely the heart of that family. And his hero goes through the Sea of Shattered Hopes, the Crystal Towers, which mythologically is a really messed up place. And he loses his best friend, his transportation, the thing that'll get him through that, get him through the world quickly. He loses it in the swamps of sadness. And he hears what he needs to get through all this is further away than he can imagine going. But in order to get there, he's got to believe in himself, and he's got to face the truth of who he is. And then he has to understand that the thing that he is trying to stop is the emptiness that's left when you lose your hopes and forget your dreams. And it's saved by the little boy reading the book. And I fast forwarded past that because I don't want y'all to see me cry. When the Empress pleads to Bastion through the pages of the books to do what he dreams, and he is crying because his dad says that he has to keep his feet on the ground, he saves that whole world by doing what he dreams. The importance of having all of that there. And he created an amazing world and flew on a dragon and threatened bullies with a giant dragon that kind of looks like the world's best Labrador, the best boy who likes getting scratched behind his ears, and that is huge. Okay, it's one of my favorite children's movies because it shows that even though children are children, life can get hard. Okay, life can get real hard. And feeling things is a difficult thing to navigate. But you can do all these things without being shut off, without without becoming stern and forgetting your hopes and becoming a robot. But you can have your dreams and your wishes, and you don't have to let the nothing grow and overtake you. That emptiness that's left when you forget all of those things does not have to exist. All it takes is for you to make a wish, to follow your dreams, one dream. And growing up in the hood, I can tell you this. Potty mouth language incoming. Everywhere I turned, there was someone ready to shit on my dreams. From a family member to coworkers to some teachers to some administrators at school. Oh, you want to be an actor? Well, that's a really unstable job and not a lot of people succeed at being an actor. Oh, you want to be a scientist? What kind of scientist? You think you can go to college and become a scientist? Oh, if you wanted to be something other than a pimp or a janitor, there was always somebody ready to shit on that, you know? But I held on to that dream and I still have those dreams. And I have definitely felt pieces of the nothing, that despair that's left. Because even though you are a dreamer, even you guys watching this channel, y'all love games, y'all love nerd stuff, superheroes, and Dungeons and Dragons, and Warhammer 40K, and painting toys, and all of that stuff is still seriously important, you know? And when we lose a family member or get fired from a job or lose our relationships or we don't get the promotions that we want or our kids end up sick, it's really easy to fall on ourselves going, I could have done more. I should have kept my feet on the ground, blah, 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 blah. And that nothing grows. But we keep going. And when you have a dream, you have a fantasy. Fact, stable employment is a dream, okay? We go to work dreaming and hoping that this pay period we'll get a check. A lot of us go every day dreaming and hoping that we don't get laid off because of budget cuts because of budget cuts and efficiency in the, financial efficiency in order to make the shareholder stock go up, or that there'll still be a field in whatever we're doing. Seriously speaking, even when we forget our hopes and dreams and end up being automatons working for the hopes and dreams of rich people, we still have all those little hopes, But to hold on to your hopes and your dreams and to dream big and to follow all of that, because the nothing can destroy all of that beauty that we can think about and imagine and that we try and put forth. Bruh, this movie messed me up. It really did. It said, you know what? You can be an actor. You can follow your dreams. Don't let the pretty little white girl who's crying die because you're afraid that you'll fail at what you try. And guess what? You are going to fail at what you try. You are going to fail time and time and time and time again until you succeed. That's the way that stuff goes. But if you lose that hope, you lose that dream, okay? You decide to not be a veterinarian and work at a liquor store and drop out of college. Brad Pitt ain't always going to show up to put a gun to your head, So, do it. Save them. Do what you dream, And that's why this movie is so important and why it's so deep embedded inside me all the way down to my gut that I am trying not to break out into tears while I talk to you guys about this. That's how much this movie means to me. And it started coming up in my feed and all that stuff because I found out that it is being remade into a new movie series. And I'm like, what? Yeah, because it's 80s nostalgia, and thank you, Stranger Things, for putting this movie in people's consciousness, with the finale of season 3. If you know, you know. And, yeah. Well, in Variety magazine, I come to find out that The Neverending Story is getting a new film series adaptation from Slow Horses. I'm like, what? Now, I'm not sure how I feel about The Neverending Story getting the reboot treatment. Now, I'm going to preface this for our very last segment, all right? I'm not one of those people that go, Hollywood needs to get good ideas. Look, I'm sorry to tell you guys, half of the movies I grew up with was a remake of a movie that was made in the 1930s or 1940s, okay? Brewster's Million remake. Um, God, what else was out there? Barbed Wire was yet another remake of Casablanca. What was done that was good? um, there were a few things out there that were remakes and stuff from other times and other movies. Okay, and so I'm not one of those people who are against remakes or refreshes or reboots. Okay. Yeah, yeah, dude. It's getting a remake. It's getting a new film series. Okay. And I'm 100% there because if the movie focuses on oh my god, we'll get to that, Zan. Oh, we will get to that. If the movie focuses on the psychological and emotional themes of the never-ending story with today's technology, I will 100% be there. Okay, I will be there 100%. If it sticks to its German roots and says kids can take this, we need to show them that. If it's like the remake of RoboCop, then yeah. Yeah. Um if it's like the remake of RoboCop or the remake of Total Recall or the remake of the stuff that I grew up with, then yeah. Yeah, exactly. Cheerful Entropy is like, wait, that would be sick. Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? You know, Zan is saying, interested in seeing Guillermo del Toro take on the never-ending story. Okay, so fact of the matter, I don't know if I'd want Guillermo del Toro to direct the whole movie. I definitely would want him to have some say in the monster creation, not just because of monsters with eyes for hands, but yeah, if there was a director that really understood the themes and the emotional bits and the important stuff for kids to see about grief and following your dreams and all that stuff, then yeah, I am right. Oh my god. But this is being done by just double checking. I hate having ads. Yeah, Michael Ende didn't like the 1984 film, specifically because of the Southern Oracle and her bra size. Um, do 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 do. But Seesaw, that's who's doing it. The Slow Horses, the people that did the movie Slow Horse or did the TV show Slow Horses, and Heartstopper are going to do it. Now I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I haven't seen Slow Horses or Heartstopper. I'm actually gonna watch it tonight after I'm done with the show. Okay. Um. So, oh God, Neon, please stop trolling. That hurts. That really hurts. Um. But what I will say is, since I don't know these filmmakers, I don't know if it's going to be good, if it's going to be bad. I don't know. The Neverending Story was not a standalone movie, which I kind of wish it had been because The Neverending Story 2 covered the second half of the novel, and it was starring not John, yeah, it was starring John Wesley Shipp and oh my god, I just for Jonathan Brandis. And it was okay, but it really focused more on bringing the filmmaking up to a higher quality standard because it was done in the 90s and it lost the story. The Never Ending Story Part 3 with Jack Black, and I don't want to talk about that. And the television show Tales from the Never Ending Story. But none of it hit as hard as the original. Okay, none of it hit as hard as the original, and that's why the rest of the franchise is not in my media collection. Um, so this has been open for a whole nother franchise, so it's getting at least a trilogy. And what I do have is faith that these filmmakers will do parts 2 and 3 better. But personally, for me, everything hinges on that first one. Everything hinges on the first one. If they can capture the emotional and psychological themes. Hey, Knights. Um, hey, thank you so much, Knights OG. Oh man, it has been a tough one. All right, and you come in close to the end of the show today, but you'll be able to watch everything after we're done. I went off on a thing about the custodies and the people who are against it, and because you know me, and we're talking about the never-ending story. So yeah, if this remake sticks to those themes, then oh my god, I am looking forward to it. But right now, I am cautiously optimistic because I don't know anything about these guys that are making the movie. Okay, I'm gonna find out which streaming services the movies are on. Um, but oh yeah, thank you. So folks have been remaking Hamlet for a while. Often this is done in order to say something particular using the story as a vector. That is very true. Because remember, the media that comes out is a reflection of the time in which that media is produced. Okay. Um, from Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet to Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet, there were, different aspects and different tellings. So, what does the never-ending story have to tell us in 2024, or if they started making it today in 2026? What would it have to tell us? What does it show? Now, personally, like I said, timely and timeless. All right. The whole thing about never forgetting your dreams and going through that emotional journey of loss and grief and coming out the other end of it with a better understanding of yourself, a little bit more confidence, and the willingness to dream and to not keep your feet on the ground. I honestly think that those lessons never are out of style. Okay. Because that's where we get our Teslas. And I mean Nikola, not, apartheid Clydes. But that's where we get our Nikola Teslas, um, our Bill Gateses, our Steve Jobses. That's where we get our inventors and our writers and the people that really push society forward are the ones who go through that and come out on the end not keeping their feet on the ground. Because everything that we've gotten used to today was a crazy imagining from someone else, okay? From the light bulb to the smartphone, you're probably watching this on. The smartphone was initially created in sci-fi novels, circa H.G. Wells, and made popular by Gene Roddenberry in the 60s. The flip cell phone, the very first one was called the StarTAC, from Motorola in 1995. Oh, cute. Yeah, he couldn't keep his feet on the ground because he married a pigeon. Ha ha. But yeah, and I mean, it's the dreamers and the people that do follow their dreams that are the ones that, one, change the world and create everything, you know? And every single one of us has the potential to do that and to be that, you know. And I'm saying this as someone who is woefully in debt, who is antagonized by his own bloodline. Okay, but I still do what I dream, as heavy and as tiresome as it is, you know. Um. So yeah. Now, does this make me a crazy person? Maybe, but I challenge all you guys out there with parents or who are parents and you folks out there that have children in your life, not just sons and daughters and stuff, but I'm talking nieces, nephews, all that other stuff, and sit down with some kids and watch this movie, you know, and have the real conversation with them about the places that they went and the stuff that they went through, and watching Barrett Oliver cry and scream out of a window. Oh my God. you know, um, seriously, it's my favorite children's movie for a reason. And let me know in the comments, again, like, subscribe, all that stuff, if y'all want me to make Busting a Recap a serious thing, because there's a lot of movies that mean a lot to me, and instead of reacting to new stuff, I want to walk you guys through why me and my generation hold tight to the stuff that we hold tight to. And who knows, maybe you guys will like it too. I was thinking about doing full-fledged recaps and watch throughs and all that stuff on Patreon. Y'all let me know if y'all like this, all right? But it's been a couple of hours and this has been fun. Yes, yeah. Knights, since we're about to wrap up the show because I've been here for a couple of hours, head on back to the 1 hour mark of the show. All right, head on back to the 1 hour mark of the show and check out the recap. All right, the new thing is Buster recap, and yeah, we go through this whole thing. But if you guys got any suggestions and you want to talk about oh my god, you were getting a tooth pull. I am so sorry, dude. That sucks. That sucks so hard. Oh man, dude, I would pour one out for you because yeah, you know, the hardest American soldiers get a day off per tooth pulled. Okay, that is you know what? You should watch the Neverending Story today. Seriously, treat yourself because yeah, dental work is no joke. But if you guys want to talk to me about this stuff and go through all of that jazz, then hit me up at backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK @gmail.com. You can also hit me up on Twitter and Instagram and all of that stuff. You know, hit me up, drop me a line. If you guys do get some value out of what we're doing here, please use your Amazon Prime to subscribe to me here on Twitch. Also push the subscribe button on YouTube because I want to do more on YouTube, but they do not give you any opportunities if you are under 1,000 viewers, and I'm only at under 1,000 subscribers, and I'm only at 260 roughly, which is why I have to keep begging because I don't even qualify for ad revenue yet, and this is what I'm trying to do. So hit me up there. And let's see here. May have missed the Custodesand things, but given your discussion of themes and the main text, I'm curious to see what you did. All right. So, yeah, seriously, Cheerful Entropy, welcome. Welcome. And something tells me you're a serious decker, whether you like it or not. Just head back. The first hour was on Custodies. The second hour was Neverending Story. Share this stuff with your friends, all that other stuff. I'm going to be editing and putting shorts and stuff like that up. So, thank you guys for being here, and remember, if anybody tells you that you can't like what you like because of the circumstances of your birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, fiscal condition being your budget, neurodiversity, or your neurospice, you can tell them to take that card and put it back in the deck. This is Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, saying thank you guys, and we will see you next time on the dark side of the room.